What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you for tuning to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Steven Thompson. I'm so glad to have you with us for another Inside Pitt practice report coming to you from the South Side after practice 9 of Pitt Panthers training camp. There's plenty of football to talk about. Panthers' first scrimmage of training camp is coming up this weekend under the lights, weather permitting, according to Pat Narduzzi, at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday night. But there's tons of news, some huge news. I would argue some of the biggest news to come out of this program in a long time, but it happens off the field. It is a really a non-football story, but we've really got to start there. The new NIL initiative that Alliance 412 has promoted and has started with the entire Pitt football team. The news broke yesterday. They made the announcement. Some further reporting by Chris Peak of Panther Lair and Noah Hiles and Chris Carter of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette revealed that Alliance 412 is not just signing every Pitt football player on scholarship to an NIL deal, but those NIL deals will be worth upwards of $10,000. Every player will get paid that is on scholarship. The first time this has happened at Pitt, it's a pretty rare instance across college football. You've seen similar things at Texas Tech. That's in addition to a new marketing arm called Oakland Originals that Alliance 412 will use to promote the athletes and their brands. But I'll be honest with you, I was there on, I believe it was Monday night when local media was able to get a glimpse of what Oakland Originals was a little bit before they made that first announcement. And quite frankly, it was billed as this big announcement and seemed a little underwhelming to me. A marketing arm is great, and I'm sure a lot of players will use that to their advantage. But this second announcement, this one that came out yesterday, where not only will every player get signed to the collective, but they will get money and they will be paid directly from the collective. That's the big stuff. That is the stuff that will, I think, put you closer to on par with some other teams that Pitt hopes to compete with. This is a program that, if you remember when Pat Narduzzi got here and even a few years into his career, they were not middling, but they were, closer to, the middle of the Power Five or the bottom of the Power Five as opposed to the middle of the pack or the upper class. And this is a move that, while it's not handing out millions to five-star recruits, it kind of puts you closer to on par with who Pitt wants to be and who they want to build to become under Pat Narduzzi. There are a couple details that came out, like I said, reporting from Chris Peak of Panther Lair first reported that these deals were going to be worth upwards of $10,000. The total value of every NIL deal given out to all of the players would be worth upwards of $1 million. Later reporting from the Post-Gazette revealed that the payments would come out monthly and in a tiered system. So not every player is getting paid the same. There will be, incentives for, experience and things like that. There'll be certain perks. You'd have to assume not every player will get paid the same. But this is significant in a lot of ways. This is, like I said, just putting Pitt closer to on par with some of these programs that do have more robust NIL deals. The idea that it is a complete structure is really significant. That's something that Pat Narduzzi said that he pushed for when talking to Chris Bickle, who's one of the major funders of Alliance 412, if not the biggest funder, the biggest booster. Pat Narduzzi also mentioned that players can earn more on the field, by playing a little bit better. The tiered payments don't really bother him. This is a guy who I think has been fairly vocal about his allegiance to making sure that NIL is equitable, not just across schools, but across players. He doesn't want fractured locker rooms because guys are worried about who's making more money than them. But at a certain point, there's something that you can't ignore, which is that certain guys carry certain value with them that's greater than a redshirt senior starting at quarterback like Phil Dracovic is going to be worth more than a guy like Rasheem Biles, a true freshman linebacker who might not even play this year. That's inherently different, and those are just two examples. This feels like it was, at least talking to Pat Narduzzi today, this feels like it was a long time coming for this program. It's something that they knew they needed to keep up with the rest of the Power Five and just the way that college athletics is changing these days. NIL is here to stay, and Pitt could either jump on that train and keep plugging along with it, or they could try to resist and try to say, hey, this is just not something we can do. But instead, they chose to find a way to do it. And like I said, this is not the most significant set of NIL deals that you'll ever see. It's all speculation right now, but you do hear rumors of five-star freshmen getting paid or five-star recruits getting paid upwards of seven figures. This is a little humbler, a little smaller scale than that, but it certainly is significant, especially within the realm of Pitt. Like I said, this is some of the biggest news to come out of this program in a long time. It is radically different, I think, from the way that Pitt had approached on NIL in the past. And like I said, even earlier this week, I was a little underwhelmed by what I thought was all that was going to come out of Alliance 412 this week. They promised some big announcements. I don't know how much I believed in how significant those announcements were going to be, but this is truly significant, and this will, if not have some immediate effects on recruiting or retention or anything like that, it will, I think, further down the line change things rather significantly. I also think it's key to think about the new membership platform that Alliance 412 initiated, where they're going to try to draw some more donations from fans around, Panther Nation, just all Pitt fans everywhere. And you'd have to imagine if this can do anything to help raise, donor bases like that, the numbers that were reported that we're talking about with what this NIL deal is worth will only continue to grow. So that was really the biggest news of the week, and Pat Narduzzi spent about half of his morning briefing talking about that. But there was some football to get to. Like I said, the Panthers are going into a scrimmage on Saturday. That meant that this practice today, their final one of the week on Friday, was a little bit shorter, only about 90 minutes as opposed to their regular 2 hours. But it not in full pads either. A little bit more walkthrough, like it seemed, just kind of getting ready, trying to treat tomorrow like a real game day and treat these past 2 days like you are getting ready for a game. So a little lighter, but some important things to come out of practice today. First of all, I think Izzy Polk coming back after being a little banged up the past couple of days. That's according to Pat Narduzzi. Polk is one of those talented four freshman wide receivers that we've been talking about for really ever since training camp started. A guy who will compete for that third starting receiver role, a guy who really impressed during spring ball and has kept that up through training camp for as long as he's been healthy. Pat Narduzzi also mentioned that this is a guy who really doesn't get hurt a lot. It didn't happen a lot in his high school career, so he was really itching to get back on the field. And he's back out there today. Looked to be moving normally, as most as I could see during practice, during the open viewing portion of practice that media could see. And yeah, he looked fine, looked back, ready to go. I'll be eager to hear what the report is and what the reviews are after he and the rest of the freshmen compete in kind of their first true live action in a scrimmage on Saturday under the lights at Acrisure Stadium. I think there's also something to be said for the aggressiveness of this team. I'll be really excited to hear also from, after following the end of the scrimmage this weekend about how aggressive this team is and how aggressive they are, particularly on offense in the passing game. The parts that we've seen at practice, Phil Dracovic and Christian Veillere are not afraid to take shots deep, and it looks like they're being called for. I think the Panthers have a lot more confidence in Bob Means and Kanata Mumpfield and just the receiving core in general to take deeper shots and be more aggressive, and that's shown up in practice. But how it'll show up in live action, how Veillere and Dracovic and the rest of the offense fare when the bullets are live, and especially when they're facing such a strong defensive backfield like I think the Panthers have, especially at cornerback between AJ Woods and Marquez Williams and MJ Devonshire. It's a passing offense that will get tested. But are they going to test that defense back? Are they really going to try to do this, or will it be kind of some empty promises, quite frankly? Just how much will they follow through on these attempts or on these promises to be more aggressive, and how much is the hype real around Means and Mumpfield? Like, did these guys really take the steps forward that we hope they did, and that it looked like they did, at least during spring practices? So those are kind of my biggest questions going into the scrimmage this Saturday. It's something to watch, and we'll be back with another practice report on Monday, or I believe Tuesday. Yes, that's right, Tuesday. Forgive me. Tuesday when the Panthers are back in action, when we get to talk to Pat Narduzzi next following their first scrimmage of the year of the 2023 season of training camp. We'll make sure to get more answers for you then. We'll be back with another practice report. As for now, make sure to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/InsideThePanthers. And make sure to follow all of our reporting from training camp, straight from the Pitt Panthers at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex at InsideThePanthers.com. Until next time, I'm Stephen Thompson. Thank you guys for joining us for another Inside Pitt Practice Report.